Good morning, children. Today, let us start the 10th chapter of history, Akbar the Great. Akbar was the third Mughal emperor of the Mughal dynasty. Akbar. Abul Fatah Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar was popularly known as Akbar, literally the greatest king. Born on 14th of October in 1542, also known as Akbar the Great or Akbar, he was a Mughal emperor from 1556 until his death. He was the third and one of the greatest rulers of the Mughal dynasty in India. Okay, so Akbar's reign was known as the glorious time of the Mughal dynasty. In 1556, Humayun died, and just months after retaking Delhi, Akbar ascended the throne at the very young age, that is 13, and under the guardian of Behram Khan, Akbar took his kingship. Akbar was a very brave ruler. He wanted to conquer many parts of the empire. So, as he wanted to expand his empire, he brought whole of India under his control. He fought with the Rajputs of the northern India. He also defeated the rulers of Malwa, Gondwana, Chittor, Ranthambore, Gujarat, Bihar, Bengal and Mewar. So, looking at these areas, you can have a gist that Akbar controlled maximum part of the Indian subcontinent. One of his glorious and famous victory was the Battle of Haldighati. It was a battle which was fought between Rajputs led by Maharana Pratap and the Mughal Emperor Akbar. It was such a ferocious battle that the Rajput king Maharana Pratap had to escape himself into the mountain forest to save his life. Such was the benevolence of Battle of Haldighati. Moving on ahead, Akbar also conquered Malwa, which was led by Adham Khan, Baz Bahadur, an Afghan king. He also conquered Gondwana and the other Rajput areas. He also entered the matrimonial alliances and married the princess of Amber. Moving on to the administration part, Akbar looked forward to the Sher Shah Suri's type of administration. He underwent two kinds of administration: central administration, in which the king was the supreme judge in all kinds of matters of justice, in appointing anyone, in dismissing anyone and giving any kind of promotion to any ministers. He had divided the council of ministers in four parts: Wazir-e-Diwan, Mir Bakshi, Qazi and just Chief Sadr, the supervisor of royal household. The provincial administration, in this, the whole province was divided into 15 provinces, and each Suba, that is the province, was governed by a Subedar. The Diwan kept the records of the land revenue, that is land taxes. The Diwan and the Subedar kept a close watch on each other. That means they overguarded each other. The provinces were furthermore divided into districts of the Sarkars, which were further divided into Parganas. Each of these units had a team of government officials managing their own officers under them, reporting to the corresponding officials at the level immediately above them. The villagers were looked after by the panchayats. Moving on next, let me explain you the Mansabdari system. In this, the high officers were also known as Mansabdars, who were given salaries in accordance to their jobs. They were paid in the form of jagirs, also called as lands. But unlike Iqtadars, most Mansabdars did not actually administer their jagirs. They only had right to revenue on their assignment. That means they only could get the taxes on their jagirs. The average salary of a jagir was divided and dependent on the types of jobs which they did. Moving on next to the Rajput policy, or you can say the Rajput relations of Akbar. So Akbar knew that Indian subcontinent was a very vast empire, so he knew that it is not possible for him to rule the whole empire without the support of the Rajputs. So he adopted a friendly policy towards them. He appointed the Rajputs as a very high position in the administration. For example, Raja Bihari Mal and his son Bhagwan Das, Raja Man Singh, Todar Mal, Birbal were given high position in the administration. Akbar also married Princess Jodha, who was a Rajput princess, and entered the matrimonial alliances. The military reforms which Akbar went through were that the system of branding horses, maintaining a descriptive role of the soldiers. Akbar also maintained a standing big commendable army. The cavalry was the most important branch of the Mughal troops. The emperor, that is Akbar, also maintained a battalion of royal and trusted soldiers. He also maintained corps of royal bodyguard and had a well organized artillery army. The revenue system, that is the taxation. Akbar adopted the basic structure of Sher Shah's revenue system. With the help of his Hindu minister Todar Mal, he introduced many important reforms. The land was measured with the bamboo jarib joined together with iron rings instead of rope used before. The average produce and the average price over 10 years was calculated, and all was shared. The revenue officers were instructed to treat the presents properly. If the crops failed due to drought or flood, the state of remission of revenue, that means they help the farmers if there was drought or flood the coming year. Loans could be paid back in easy installments and were advanced to the peasants to buy seeds, cattle and other things for the farming. Moving on to the Rajput, or you can say the religious policies, Akbar was highly religious tolerant. He followed the policy of religious tolerance and believed that all the religions were the same. He wanted to unite the diverse races of India into one nation. He took many measures for them. He abolished the Jazdia tax, which the non-Muslims had to pay. He treated all his subjects equally. He even married the Rajput princess and allowed her freedom to practice her own faith. He also gave land grants to the persons of merit, irrespective of their religious belief. Akbar also started a Din-e-Ilahi system in which he made comparative study of all the different religions, and this Din-e-Ilahi meant divine faith. The new divine faith included good points of all the religions. He said that to believe in one supreme God. The basic purpose of Din-e-Ilahi was universal harmony. It had to taught the people the idea of tolerance, that there should not be any discrimination between people on religions. Din-e-Ilahi also focused on system of ethics like justice, peace, honesty, which could be universally applicable and acceptable to all the people of the empire. Moving on to the literature part, the famous Akbarnama was written by Abul Fazl, who was a fine Persian. It was a fine Persian art form. Faizi, Raja Birbal, Ramcharitmanas, which was written by Tulsidas, and many other books were translated. Looking forward to the social reforms, he abolished sati and legalized the widow remarriage. And during his time, different kinds of works were translated into Sanskrit, Arabic and Greek for people to get more educated. He revised the educational syllabus and laid more stress on more education and on secular subjects rather than religion and theology. Akbar was also very fond of scholars. Therefore, he had Navratnas in his court. He had chief advisor, he had literate in his court, that is Faizi, he had a Hindu singer, he had noble known for his wisdom, that was Birbal, finance minister, trusted general of Akbar, a noble and renowned poet, and the other important Navratnas. Coming to the final part, that is the architecture's features under the reign of Akbar, the style of buildings involved under this were chiefly commendable, executed in red sandstone, were a beautiful picture of the beautiful Mughal architecture. The style was accurate and the concept was symmetry was followed. The pillars were shaft and usually many-sided. Akbar had made commendable architectures during his time. Akbar was known as the greatest king of the Mughal era. He was the real founder of Mughal Empire. Under Akbar, the country became essentially secular, liberal and enlightened in social matters and cultural integration. He died in the year of 1605 and was buried in a tomb at Sikandra, but is remembered till now as the greatest king of the Mughal dynasty.